to borrow from another legislator I spoke to earlier today. I think it's appropriate that we're debating this legislation on Groundhog Day. So it feels like a little bit of deja vu. So as the senator from the 49th said, this extends a bill that was adopted back in 2013, which was Senate Bill 24. And I think it's important to know, since the bill before us is fairly brief, what Senate Bill 24 actually did. And that is the hospital bed tax that had been originally authorized in 2010, principally, I think, because there was a lot of concern about the semantics here about is it a fee or is it a tax and who's levying it. We changed the raiser of the tax, I guess, to the Department of Community Health, so that they would be the ones in charge of determining the tax. And basically what we would be doing here by adopting Senate Bill 70 is extending the authority that board currently enjoys, which was due to terminate on June 30th of this year, to June 30th of 2020. Now, I think it's important to note a couple of things. The first thing is, it is undeniable that this bill raises revenue. This is a revenue bill. If we don't pass this bill, the current fee, tax, whatever you would like to call it, will terminate. It will stand abolished on June 30th. If we pass this bill, we will continue to raise revenue on July 1st and going forward. Now, Article 3 of the Constitution of the state of Georgia is very clear that revenue bills are supposed to originate in the House of Representatives. Now, when I voted for the original bill, which I did vote for in 2013, I was under the impression that we would never allow a bill to come to the floor that was facially unconstitutional. So I just assumed, and I've learned how dangerous it is to assume since then, that we would be acting in a manner consistent with the Georgia Constitution. And there's a reason, there's a rationale, there's a public policy rationale for why revenue-raising bills should start in the House, because the House, with its larger membership and each member representing a smaller group of folks, is a little bit closer to the constituency they represent. And so the thought process was, if you're going to raise revenue, that those folks across the way ought to be the ones to have the first crack at it. So I understand why it's attractive to work the smaller body first and get this bill passed before beginning the herding of the cats across the way. But it still, despite the convenience of that, it still is in violation of the Georgia Constitution. Now, the other thing is, in 2013, it was presented to us as this is a now or never kind of situation. It's the only way we can keep health care, certainly indigent care, solvent in Georgia. And so I participated in a study committee in that interim following 2013 with several other members and some members of the public as well. And we issued a report with a number of recommendations, which in the last 4 years have not been followed up on. So we are right back in the soup, so to speak. Now, having said all of that, I still recognize that there is a budgetary necessity due to our failure to act over the last 4 years to come up with a way to fund our contribution to Medicaid. And so, despite what I perceive to be the constitutional infirmities of this legislation, and despite the fact that I think we should have acted responsibly over the last 4 years so that we would not be in a position of having to do this again, I've offered an amendment, and the amendment would simply say that we're going to extend the fee or tax for 1 year instead of 3 years. Why 1 year instead of 3 years? Because we know with the change in the federal administration in Washington that there is a commitment to moving away from the current structure of the way Medicaid is financed to a block grant structure that will give this state and other states much more flexibility. If we pass Senate Bill 70 the way it is currently written, then we are giving away our authority to DCH, not for 1 year, not for 2 years, but for 3 years, so that even if the underlying structure changes in a way that makes the current tax attractive, because you can pull down, as other people have said, you can get the matching federal money. If that were to go away in a year, the taxing authority doesn't go away in a year. The taxing authority remains in year 2 and in year 3. And while I might have some faith in this body to address that issue in 12 months from now, I don't like the idea of writing a blank check, so to speak, to bureaucrats to determine whether or not they're going to continue to levy this fee or tax or whatever you would like to call it. I think the other thing that's important to note is there was a lot of discussion in the original debate in 2010 about the number of winning versus losing hospitals. And what I mean by that are hospitals that net a benefit from the current hospital bed tax. And if you look at the data going back from fiscal year 2011 to fiscal year 2015, in fiscal year 2011, there were 63 Georgia hospitals that experienced a gain as a result of the hospital bed tax. In fiscal year 2012, it dropped from 63 to 55. In fiscal year 2013, it dropped from 55 to 52. In fiscal year 2014, it dropped from 52 to 45. And then in fiscal year 2015, which I believe is the last year that we have data, it stayed relatively flat. It moved from 45 to 46. But if you look at the aggregate, if you look at the hospital fee revenue that goes to DCH versus the add-on payment being made to hospitals, we've gone from fiscal year 2011, where it was actually $24.7 million to the good for hospitals, that they were actually doing over and above what the hospital fee revenues brought into DCH. Fiscal year 2015, the last year that I'm aware of that we have data for, it was actually 13.1 million less. So when you look at all of those trends, I think all of that argues against an extensive 3-year extension. I think what it argues for, I think the fiscally prudent thing to do is to make a 1-year extension, and then we can come back here in 2018 after having allowed the federal government its opportunity to weigh in. And if I'm wrong and there's not a change in policy, then we simply would renew the tax for a further extension beyond 2018. But it gives us the flexibility and would require us to revisit the issue instead of us simply writing a blank check to DCH for 3 years. I will tell you, and I think it's important to note, that there's an analysis that the Department of Community Health has done of specific hospital gains and losses. And if you look through here, what you'll find is a number of hospitals that have lost in terms of what they pay in taxes through this program versus what is returned to the hospital. You have Athens Regional Medical Center, Barrow Regional Medical Center, Candler Hospital, Cartersville Medical Center, Central Georgia Rehabilitation Hospital, Coliseum Medical Centers, Coliseum Northside Hospital, Columbus Specialty Hospital, Doctors Hospital in Columbus, Doctors Hospital of Augusta, East Georgia Regional Medical Center, Eastside Medical Center, Elbert Memorial Hospital, Emory Johns Creek Hospital, Emory Orthopedics, Emory University Hospital, Emory University Hospital Midtown, Emory Adventist Hospital, Emory Evans Memorial Hospital, Flint River Community Hospital, Gordon Hospital, Gwinnett Medical Center, Gwinnett Medical Center in Duluth, Habersham County Medical Center, Henry Medical Center, John D. Archbold Memorial Hospital, Landmark Hospital of Athens, Murray Medical Center, North Fulton Regional Hospital, North Georgia Medical Center, Northeast Georgia Medical Center, Northridge Medical Center, Northside Hospital, Northside Hospital Cherokee, Northside Hospital Forsyth, Northside Medical Center, Oconee Regional Medical Center, Perry Hospital, Piedmont Fayette Hospital, Piedmont Mountainside Medical Center, Redmond Regional Medical Center, Regency Hospital of Central Georgia, Regency Hospital of South Atlanta, Rockdale Medical Center, St. Francis Hospital, St. Joseph's Hospital, Select Specialty Hospitals of Atlanta and Savannah and Augusta, the Shepherd Center, South Fulton Medical Center, South Georgia Medical Center, Southeast Georgia Health System, Brunswick and Camden, Southern Crescent Hospital for Specialty Care, St. Mary's Hospital, Stevens County Hospital, Tanner Medical Center, Carrollton, Tift Regional Medical Center, Trinity Hospital of Augusta, Triumph the Specialty Hospital, Union General Hospital, University Hospital, Walton Regional Medical Center, Walton Rehabilitation Hospital, Washington County Regional Medical Center, Wellstar Cobb Hospital, Wellstar Douglas Hospital, Wellstar Kennestone Hospital, Wellstar Paulding Hospital, Wellstar Windy Hill Hospital, Wesley Woods Geriatric Hospital, Wesley Woods Long-Term Hospital, West Georgia Medical Center, and Wildwood Lifestyle Center and Hospital. So there are a number of hospitals that are net losers in the last fiscal year. And again, I understand that there is a necessity to move forward with the program because of the current situation we are in. There is not a necessity that we continue this program for the next 3 years. And so what I would recommend that we do is pass Amendment 1, extend the program for the next 12 months, and then allow us to come back in the next legislative session in 2018 and make any necessary adjustments at that time. But that puts the General Assembly in the driver's seat instead of the Department of Community Health. And I believe that's what our constituents would want us to do. Mr. President, I would urge passage of Amendment 1, and I will yield the well. Thank you.